Hey guys! Today I'm going to be teaching you how to make the crystal geode earrings. And this is a really fun design that I came up with that really shines on the 34 by 40 millimeter organic hoops from our new findings line. And I used some size 6 seed beads, some size 8 seed beads, and also some 4 millimeter bicone crystals, and stitched them up in a design that looks like a sparkly inside of a geode, like the kind that you'd find. And you remember when I was a kid, I used to go to those amusement parks. You get to break the rocks open and there'd be like a geode inside. So that was the inspiration for this piece. And so I'm using some 4 millimeter Czech bicones in AB crystal. I'm using a white pearl size 6 seed bead, and I'm using silver line gold size 8 seed beads. And that's pretty much it. For thread, I'm using Miyuki Dura-Line. I used a white color in the original sample. Today I'm going to work with black so you can see what I'm doing a little better. And then you'll need a size 10 or a size 12 beading needle, scissors, and a beading mat. And that's really all you need, except for maybe some ear wires or other findings if you'd like it to be a necklace. You can make this into a pendant or a pair of earrings. So let's get started. Okay, so again, the materials I have on the mat are the 34 by 40 millimeter hoops, 6/0, 8/0, 4 millimeter bicones, needle and thread. The instructions for this project can be found in the description for this video. They'll also be on blog.johnbead.com. And I'm going to give you guys a quick look at that. Here's the instructions. And again, they summarize all of the John Bead part numbers for anything that you'll need for this project. And if you have any questions, of course, you can contact us and we'll help you out. All right, so let's get started. I'm going to just clear our screen here. And I have gone ahead and cut a 45-inch length of beading thread. I'm using a dark color so you can see my work. But on the original samples, I did use a white thread, which kind of, blended in a little better with the gold. But you can use any color you'd like. And I have a size 10 beading needle threaded here. Just folded over at the top. It's worked on a single strand. And what I'm going to do with my tail now, or sorry, the end of the thread, so the side the needle's not on, is tie a double knot onto the hoop component, kind of right about here, without worrying too much about the position, because you can adjust this after you've got your knot tied and even after you've got the beads on. My goal is to leave about a 7-inch tail, so we're going to leave about that much or so. I'm going to fold this over and tie one. Again, this is just a double knot. And two. And then if you can, you're going to go ahead and move your knot toward the inside of your hoop. So just pull on those threads and bring it in. And we're currently working with a size 6/0 Czech seed bead. Starting with the size 6, we're going to string that bead, bring it down. And then let's go ahead and bring the tail through that bead. So this is the tail of the thread that we just tied onto the hoop. And this is the working side, tail side. And I like to pull those apart. See, I'm kind of pulling them gently in different directions. And that brings my knot to sit nicely inside of my seed bead there. Okay, and now we're going to do basic brick stitch. We're going to keep adding size 6 seed beads until we have a total of 10, and they're just going to kind of circle all around like that. So let's string another bead, another size 6 seed bead, and bring the bead down. And then take your needle and go behind the component. And then while you're doing this next step, go ahead and just kind of press down gently on top of the component. And so the bead will sit and it'll stay on the inside. And you can bring your needle then again over. Here we're over the component now. We were just under. Now we're over. And we're going to come up from underneath the bead. And underneath being where the thread is coming out. We want to go back in that direction. So going in this direction. And that will make a loop form. Underneath the bead, that hugs the component. So you see if you just pull tightly right there, it'll hug the component. And we're going to do that for a total of 10. So we've got 8 more to add. So here's one bead. Just going to bring that down. And we're going to go with our needle behind the component. Still pressing down on the component here on the mat. The bead will sit snug inside the hoop. Come back up through it. And then start to pull your thread. I'm still putting some pressure on the component here on the mat with my fingers. And there we go. And again, it's going to kind of move around on you. That's great. You wanted to do that because you want to be able to adjust it later to kind of get it into the same spot as the other one. If you're making a matching earring, it doesn't have to be exact, just close. So nice that you can slide it, I think. Here's our next bead. And I kind of in one little shorthand motion went under the component, pull tight, and come up to the bead. And every time we do that, it'll hug the component and add the bead. And the bead will sit on the inside of the component next to the one before it. Here we go, underneath the component, pressing down, pull tight. And I would say I'm using medium to tight tension. I said medium before, and as I'm thinking about it, as I'm going, it's pretty tight tension. And it's just to keep it locked there against the component. This is the base structure for all the stitching we're going to do above. So we can make it nice and tight. There we go. Going behind the component and then in front of the component to add each bead. So we've got, there's 7, and my work has wandered up to sit at the top. And so I'm just going to encourage it to come right back where I'd like it to stay, just kind of down here. If that happens to you, you see how easy that was to slide. And it does tighten up. So I'll explain later on the next row that it's less likely to slide once you get the remaining rows added. Every row tightens up the one before it in brick stitch, which is very cool. Here's our 8th bead, I believe. Here's our 9th. And our 10th bead. Again, we've just been working with 6/0 seed beads so far. Okay. Okay, so we've got a total of 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 beads across, and check your count. It'll still work even if you try a different count, but what we're going to do next, that step is kind of important for having, at least if you're following my pattern, you'll want to have 10 because that's will end you with the right number of beads. But I do think the stitch will work with different counts. So feel free to try that. All right, so what we're going to do now is add another row on top of this one. And in case anyone's totally new to brick stitch, I want to explain what a thread bridge is really quick. So a thread bridge is the, you see the places where the thread is jumping from one bead to the next? In each of these cases, that's a thread bridge. And if someone says first, second, third, they're counting from where the working thread's exiting. So here's my working thread over here. And so this would be my first thread bridge. And of course, the second would be this one here, third, fourth, fifth, and so on. So that's helpful if you're following the pattern in the illustration that came with this design. Shows every bridge that we used for every thread added, or sorry, every bead added in this stuff. Another thing I'm doing here is when we were doing this last step, we were kind of encouraging our thread to be in the front of the component. That was helpful because we were picking up a bead going under and around at the front. If you're working facing your work like I am, it kind of helps to bring your needle behind the work so that your thread's from back here. All right. And so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to pick up a 4mm Czech bicone crystal, and we're going to use size 8 seed beads, and I'm using a silver lined gold. And so here's a close-up of what these are. Silver lined gold Czech and a 4mm crystal AB. Really pretty colors there. All right, and so for the first one, I'm going to pick up a bicone crystal and a silver lined gold size 8 seed bead. So both of these beads. And I'm going to bring those down. And I'm going to go under with my needle under the second thread bridge. So there's the first one, and here's the second. I'll go under the second one. Bring that to where the beads kind of sit right next to each other. If they turn like mine are, just flip them over so that your loop is coming in even like that. They tend to do that on the first add for some reason, but you can just encourage them to kind of just sit flat like that. Now the bicone crystal is it's gonna lean to the side, and don't worry about that. That's as designed. We're gonna come back up through just the size 8 seed bead. And it's using the same method that we were using when we were putting the 6/0 on the hoop. We're just, this time, that little loop is going to lock onto the second thread bridge and tighten down. So let's repeat that, alternating a crystal with a seed bead every time. So we just did a seed bead, so we're going to add a crystal. Bring that on. And now let's go into the third thread bridge. We're just adding one bead at a time now. We started our row with 2, we're just adding 1. Go underneath the crystal here. So I went under the third thread bridge, and now what I'm trying to do is get up through the crystal. And that'll sit right next to the seed bead, kind of like that. And now let's pick up a seed bead, and we'll go onto the next thread bridge, the fourth one. Next, we need a crystal. And we'll pull a little bit tight there. Seed bead will be next thread bridge. Each time we add, we're going under the next one. So it's 1 for 1. We need a crystal now. Here's our next thread bridge. It can be a little tricky to get underneath the bicone there, but you'll get it. Next, seed bead. And last but not least, crystal. All right, so here's what we have so far. We've got our crystal seed bead, crystal seed bead. And I'm going to go ahead and bring up the PDF really quick and show you where we are so you can see that info. So we just finished this step right here. We added a crystal, a seed bead, crystal seed bead, all the way here. And our next step is going to just put one more row of crystal. And this time they're going to lay it at an angle. So they're going to kind of connect to the points of each of the crystals before them. So they stick up with the side toward the center. There we go. All right, so I've got, let's see, I've got 3. I need 1 more. I need 4 crystals. And you could try changing up these colors too, like maybe put a different color crystal on the inside. So many things you can do. But let's go ahead and pick up our crystal. And we're going to go ahead and jump over the seed bead. So ignore the seed bead. Look where our thread's exiting. It's coming out of, forgive me there, it's coming out of the top of the crystal. And we're going to go just down through the next crystal. We're actually going to go through the hole. We're not using thread bridges at the moment. We're going to go down through the actual bead there. So skipping over the seed bead, go down through the next crystal bead there. When we do that, the crystal is going to sit at a 90-degree angle there to the ones before it. And when you're using the clear thread, the thread doesn't show very much at all. So it really, really stands out. So now what we want to do is we want to get back to where we're exiting from this bead again. And so we're going to go and borrow that thread bridge again. So the thread bridge that is under this crystal, the one that our thread just went down through, to get under it, just go in between those two size 6 beads. And when you pull that thread through and tighten it, it should pop right up. Now we know we've got that thread bridge. So let's flip it over and let's come up through our crystal. And I'm being careful not to go back under my thread bridge there, just coming up through the crystal. And if for some reason you missed it, the bead would just pop out now and you would just try again. But hopefully if you've got that thread bridge, what you'll get is a nice little lock. So what happened is these 3 crystals are just dancing over that seed bead now. And that's our goal. So we're going to add another one. So I'm going to bring my needle through here. Let's get another crystal. I'm going to pick it up. And we're going to, again, jump over the seed bead that's there. And we're going to go down through the next crystal. So pull down and watch that bead just pop right in place. Yay. Again, we're going to pick up the thread bridge that's under the crystal we just went through. And to do that, I'm going to bring my needle under here, just in between. I'm just going in between those 2 size 6 beads, right? And pull tight. And that will pop and catch the thread bridge. And let's come back up through that crystal. And there we go. All right, 2 more times and we're done. And I'll just show you weaving in and you can go and make all different colors. All right, so let's bring this crystal down. There we go. Again, we're going to go down through the next crystal. We're skipping over the seed bead. And my tail is starting to get in the way. You could trim that if you want to. I didn't yet, but you can. Again, here's that trick for knowing we got a thread bridge that's underneath the bead that it's hard to see. You just go in between the beads below it. And then it should just pop right back up. I'm going to flip it over. And come back up through the crystal. Just being mindful not to go through my thread anywhere. So it's getting a little tight there. So I always go a little slow and just double check. Here's another crystal. I'm going to bring that down. And then last but not least, I'm going to go through this crystal here. Okay, and let's pick up the thread bridge next to it, or under it, sorry, by going in between those 2 size 6 beads. And pull down. Then I flip it over, just come to the back here. Right back up through our crystal. There it is. That's the whole design. We just have to weave this working thread in and then decide if it's an earring or a pendant. But there you go. It's all set. And of course, I worked these with a different color thread, so they have a really different look. Your thread color is going to impact the look of your piece. So definitely play with that and see what you come up with. There's lots of options out there for thread. You could even match your thread color to the crystal color, which might be kind of cool. And then it would tie in the look of like, you know, kind of like a striation coming out of a stone. It would really look neat. I have a bunch of tanzanite next to me, crystals that I think need to become one of these. So you'll be seeing a couple of posts from me about that. So let's go ahead and weave in. Just want to show that really quick and then we'll be all done. So I'm exiting from this crystal here. That's the one we just came up through. Probably the easiest way to weave in is to go ahead back through the last crystal we added. And then from there, turn and come down through the other crystal, the next in the line there. And I'm going to grab that thread bridge again. Flip it over. What I'm doing is following my existing thread path through a few beads. And that's my method for weaving in. You could do a half hitch knot under a bead. A lot of folks like to do that, but I think it's just as good if you just do a little bit of traveling. So I'll go down through this next one. And what happened there was I actually got the thread bridge by accident on the first pass. So I'm going to go with it, but that was a little serendipitous. It's usually you have to kind of find it, but there it is. I got it. Back up through the crystal here, and then I'm going to go ahead and trim it and call it good. There's that. Let's get our scissors back over, push down, pull up. There we go. And it looks really cool. All right, so there you have the crystal geode earrings, and I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. It's a really fun one, and I hope you will share your creations with us. We have a great way to find us. Let me go ahead and bring that up really quick. If you visit blog.johnbead.com, what you'll find there is a lot of links to a lot of our recorded classes, and you'll also find a lot of PDFs you can download, inspiration, and a link to our Facebook group, which is a great place to share your work with us. And you can hashtag John Bead if you're on Instagram or Facebook, and we will see your post, and we love sharing all of your beautiful creations. So thanks for tuning in, and please have a great rest of your week or weekend, wherever you are, and a happy beading. Thanks a lot. Bye.